Hey, welcome back to the Hollis Chapman Show on Blog Talk Radio. What our first great guest this Mother's Day weekend, and make sure you say Happy Mother's Day to your mother. Our next guest is waiting in the wings, and he's here to talk about his business. It's been great to have him. Our next guest, let me see if I can pull up a little information on him. His group, his company, his blog is the Madco Group, and I want to see if I can get, here we go, something about him. First, James My Oh Ho. I may pronounce that incorrectly, but I'm sorry. About his company, his commitment to clients is second to none. Define and implement the actions and practice needed to correct or eliminate the roadblocks to success. That's James and his company, okay? Let me see if I can work on pronouncing his name correctly. His name is James My Oh. Okay, he's here to talk to you about his business and the things he does to help succeed. We want to welcome to the show. So let's welcome to the show without further ado, Mr. James Myoho. Hi, James. How you doing, sir?
I'm well, Hollis. How are you today?
I'm doing well, and apologies for your mispronouncing your name. You know, the more I practice it, the worse I get. So I sit there and say, okay, I got to stop now. So I overanalyzed it, and I screwed it up. I was doing good yesterday, but not today, so I apologize.
No worries. I feel that way myself sometimes.
There you go. Okay, so just kind of introduce yourself a little bit and tell us a little about yourself. And, yes, you got a new book, and talk a little bit about your new book, okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, my name is James Myoho. I have, among other things, a small boutique consulting business. I've been in the sales and business world for over 25 years now and had the good fortune to work with a number of different companies in a variety of areas, not only in revenue production, but in business turnaround, strategic planning, and really getting to the core of what is happening with personnel now. So that is kind of what I do as a business. I have business degrees from Aquinas College. I also have music degrees, so I'm fairly well studying and have been a lifelong student of sales, revenue, production, as well as consumer behavior and corporate dynamics, organizational behavior. The book you referred to, the first one was entitled Winners Give Up, which is sort of a starter to be an instigator for self-help, getting yourself ready to overcome certain things to get you in a position to succeed in whatever that is that you choose to do. And I have an upcoming book, which is the working title is I Am Not, in parentheses, a Salesman, which gets into a lot more of the nuts and bolts that we'll probably talk about today.
Okay, very good. You know, you talk about personnel. I want you to go back a few. You said you've been 20-something years, you've been in the business. What do you see the major difference now with technology and personnel back then and personnel technology now? Because we're in such a fast-paced world, change, keep up with the technology. How, when you talk to the personnel, you go to a company, talk to them and their people, how do you talk to them and say, hey, you got to be an open mind. You got to be available to change with the times. How do you address that issue?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, and it depends on a lot of different factors. Really, it depends really on where nowadays the age of the person you're talking to, because there really is a stratification of experience and acceptance towards technology, if that's what we're talking about. So there's a level of different languages that are going on simultaneously in any business in regards to technology, outlook, how things are done, experience with customers, views on customer satisfaction. So senior level CEO, somebody that is in their 40s or 50s or has some experience in their marketplace or in their vertical, is adapting but speaks a completely different language than somebody that is entry level or younger. So you have to try to find a way to bridge all of those to get some sort of coherent experience or get people on the same page and breaking through those different language barriers.
That's a great point, James. I wanted to say to you, or just mention out there, is that people who are 50s and up, 45, 50s and up, 60s, they should not be afraid of technology. They should kind of grasp it the best they can, because I've talked to a couple of people this week and over 50s and 60s, and it's like, oh, I don't know how to do that. This smartphone, this laptop stuff is crazy. Well, like I said to them, well, I understand it's tough for you, but that's the language of today. That is the language of today. That's how you can converse with different people, younger you, because, the business they were in, they're sitting there talking about doing this, and this. I said, when you sit there and prove to them that you don't know what you're talking about today, they're not really going to buy into what you're trying to sell. They aren't. This is how these people communicate. When they want to go, if they want to know about your business, they're going to go online. If you have nothing online, they're going to move forward. Is that correct? Is that something how they can't be afraid of technology? Kind of trying to teach them how to deal with technology today? Is that true?
That's absolutely true. And what you're saying really affects our organization revenue-wise or customer experience-wise on two levels. The senior level people have to, if they're not going to absolutely accept the technology, they at least have to be able to speak the language if they're not going to embrace the efficiencies that it can do for themselves. But, companies that are struggling or not getting to where they want to be usually make one of 6 mistakes or all of 6 general mistakes. And one of them is not understanding their customers' wants and needs and pre-qualifying their customers updated on a regular basis. So when you're trying to speak Arabic to somebody that speaks German, right?
Yeah.
Because you're not on the same page. You're not going to be effective, one, in understanding who your client is, but two, drilling down and sending the message that you want perceived to the marketplace or your client, whoever that is.
Yeah. Very good. All right. James, okay, you've one of the questions I sent to you is, what is the first step to better? Okay, so you're sitting there, you're doing your stuff, you're talking to people, you're talking to different companies, you put your books out there, and one of the itching questions to everybody is, what is the first step to better?
Yeah, that's a good question too, and that's also dependent. There's a couple things. The first step to better generally starts with the individual, and that is going to affect any size of organization. And if we're talking the terms of an organization, it starts with the principal. And the first step to better is really understanding who and what you are right now as a person, as an organization, as a manager, as a division head, whatever the case may be. And sometimes that means taking a hard look in the mirror, taking an honest look at, say, your books, taking an honest look at your systems, taking an honest look at what you're doing in the marketplace, and having a real hard accepting look at where the flaws are, because a lot of managers, a lot of owners, especially small business owners that have built up a business, are blind to a lot of the things that are holding them back to being better, and accepting what those are, laying them out, qualifying them, quantifying them, and then taking the first step forward, and taking the first step forward towards what they really want as a goal. And they have to determine that as an individual. What do they really want? Well, one could say, I want $1 million worth of sales. Well, what does $1 million worth of sales mean? What $1 million worth of sales means is maybe that manager gets X amount of bonus, or maybe the organization gets X amount of profit from that, and that leads to this. It leads to a cottage. It leads to maybe his kids going to college. Maybe it leads to this. That's really what the manager wants. That's what the organization wants. That's what the owner wants. So it's a matter of really being honest and defining those things, and then taking the steps, working it backwards to drive towards the real goal. And then people can do it with some sort of zeal and passion.
Yeah, there you go. And great, you said passion. It's a great segue into share with us, because you're part of our passion series with our guests. Share with us how passion has played a big role in your growth, your books, and just how you're doing with your business right now?
Yeah, for me personally, and my business and personal experience, passion and determination at certain points in my life were the only thing that were keeping me alive and my kids fed. There have been real low points in my career that I've had to dig back out of based on, my poor business and poor personal decisions. And so that has kind of given me a different appreciation and understanding of kind of when you bring yourself back, what emotionally and personally you have to go into whatever endeavor is in front of you. And I think when people attack things with passion, you can really, and it sounds trite to say move mountains, but you can climb back up out of a hole or climb up that mountain that's in front of you if you do it with some sort of passionate and emotional commitment. And that goes back to the previous question we talked to. First you have to identify what that is, and then you can be honest with yourself and pursue that. And if you're not passionate about something, or it's not something that you really want, then, maybe you just need to take a big breath and switch to something else or move on to something else. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Hey, James, thanks for sharing. That's a nice story. Obviously you've probably overcome some tough times there. You come out and do some great things, and we appreciate you sharing that passion story with us. I just looked at your blog. I like this good question or good comment here. I like this a lot. Each engagement is unique and customized. Explain that, and that's so true. I mean, my thoughts when I'm thinking what that means. But explain to our listeners what that means. Each engagement is unique and customized.
Yeah, because I only take on a select clients when I really believe that it's mutually beneficial. One, for me, either to learn or for experience for my company, and that I believe that there's going to be follow through and belief and the value to the business. And everything, each business organization is completely different. Every human's different. An organization is just like an organism with moving parts in it, with a different things that make it work or not work. And that really starts with bottom of what is going on inside of a company. And it doesn't matter what revenue level you're at. All of these things that basically exist. And sometimes, organizations being held back by bad decision-making of the owner. Sometimes there's personal issues where there's skeletons in the closet. Sometimes, you've got a company that's been built up out of nothing. You've got an entrepreneur that's very proud of their business, and they're just flying by the seat of the pants. But the key to making every engagement different is really understanding what those things are in each organization, and then laying out some sort of method to attack and correct those, bring those to the surface. I certainly don't do anything cookie cutter. There's lots of people that do that, and if that were going to be the case for me, I would just refer somebody to go ahead and get the 10-day MBA book and fix yourself.
Right.
And the problems go much deeper than what's in the books and numbers in front of you most of the time.
Very good. Hey, James, let me give you something to think about, too. Because, again, I really like that statement, engagement, unique, and customized. Well, I was talking to a gentleman last week. He's working in where marketers are out and about. They're out in, malls and stuff like that marketing their wares. And I told him, I go, you have to listen more. Okay, you got to listen more. I go, don't just keep on pitching to everybody. One thing, not everybody's is your niche. You're just throwing things out there and hoping something sticks. I go, you got to stop doing that. But I said, listen more, and then you can get the uniqueness, so you can get the engagement from these people, and you customize what you already know to them. You know what I mean? You customize because again, he was just pitching to everybody, talking the same thing to everybody. I go, what are you doing? Not, talk less, listen more, and then you got to be able to. This is where you get talented. You got to be able to customize your pitch on the fly to fit that uniqueness. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's a real common problem, especially with young quote unquote salesmen. The book that's that I have coming out next, titled "I Am Not a Salesman," addresses that issue. And partway through the book, I exchanged the label salesman with solvesman. And you have to learn how to be a solvesman. And it doesn't matter what particular solution your offering is. You have to be able to ask a couple questions and then be quiet and let the person tell you what's going on and figure out if, one, on a legitimate basis, if your solution can bring value to that person. And you have to be open and able to walk away from that if it's not. But once you start, exactly like you said, listening more and talking less, because everybody's different. Every organization's different. And people hear what you're saying through their own prism of experience and through their own cognitive dissonance. So they're not hearing what you think that they're hearing. That's why you want to have them reveal and let them make the buying decision from you.
Nice. Yeah. Thank you for that. I mean, I thought I was right, but that kind of clarifies a lot more and made me feel good because I thought I did a good job at telling him that, because it got to a point where I was getting mad. I go, "What are you doing?" I go, "You have to stop doing that. You're talking too much." She probably heard 2 words of what you just said. Stop that. And then she just gives me a dirty look. I go, "I don't care. You just got to stop doing that." So, okay.
Yeah,
thank you very much.
Part of the reason that guys do that, right, is especially with that kind of issue, you're quota driven, right? And you've got somebody that's, and when I was in my young career, I sold chimney sweeps and high pressure stereos, and that's the way you're driven to do it, because you're numbers driven. Sure, a little bit, or shift your own paradigm. And if you look at the customer's wants and needs, and your role really is just to solve some sort of problem for the person that's in front of you at that moment, then your behavior shifts. And people become a lot more receptive to that because you're authentic and they believe in trusting you.
Yeah, that's so true. Okay, I'm going to go back to your book, Winners Give Up. So when a person first sees that on the shelf of Barnes & Noble's, Winners Give Up, what does that mean a little bit? And kind of break it down to why is a good buy.
Yeah, it's a play on words, because the first thing that comes to mind is, well, no, winners don't give up. Winners drive on. They play through pain. They persevere. They don't ever quit. And so the premise is there are certain things, certain bad habits, certain baggage, that if we shed that, if we give these things up, we are one step closer to being a whole and happy person, but one step closer to whatever goal that is that we're going after. And this book, it's a quick, it's not very long, but there's 53 some different examples of things to give up, and they're really meant to help people think and kind of give a little paradigm shift. And it's really meant to be read more than once. You read it through, read titles or chapters that resonate with you or stick out, and then set it down and go back to it and read it again, or at different points in time, different things are going to make sense. And then, start working towards shedding some of your own negative stuff, getting negativity out of your life, dropping this bad habit or that. That's really the purpose of it.
Hey, James, are you a former athlete?
Yeah.
Okay. And the reason why I asked that,
mediocre one.
No, that's okay. Yeah. Because Winners Give Up is it's a lot of sports analogies there, and they always use it a lot of time in sports. When you're out there in the 100-degree weather, you want to quit doing that mile run, whatever, so you don't give up. So I like that because I always use sports analogies when I'm talking, speaking, stuff like that. So I appreciate that. What do you through a lot of your consulting, a lot of your work? What do you find are the ones who really have the fortitude not to give up? I mean, what's some of the makings of most people you talk to who weren't giver-uppers, who did not give up? Was it their upbringing? Was it upbringing in bad situations? Was it family of means? Was it former athletes? Was it former athletes' parents, children? Is there a typical pattern to people who don't give up? Since I don't know if it makes any sense or not, but you know what I'm saying? Is there a pattern you found in your speaking that you met people who don't give up from a certain group?
Well, yeah, there a pattern. Yes, I mean, and it's evident across the spectrum, and you could find a multitude of stories in modern day athletes. I'm trying to think of somebody, like Michael Orr's story. There's somebody that came out of a horrible background, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can find it in business. Even somebody that everybody would know. Tony Robbins had a real harsh experience when he was a young man, and has been through several, life challenges. That self-made men, Richard Branson, if we're talking about big names. But you know what? It's also the mom that has a flower shop down the street that has, 3 kids at home and a husband that's laid off, that's not giving up, that's keeping her kids fed, and they're scraping by on, a little shop and not that much revenue and hardly any profits, but she gets up and she's in the shop every day. Or a guy that has a small tooling factory. The examples are all around us.
Hey, we're getting close to, man, shoot. Before I want to go to another question, just talk a little bit about the Madco group. That's your company, right? Madco?
Yeah, Madco, yeah.
Okay, talk a little bit about that.
Madco. Well, it's really this boutique consulting company, and right now its function is to work with, like I said, select clients where it's mutually beneficial. I do a lot of work in the Michigan area, where I'm currently living, with minority contractors and minority groups on a pro bono basis, and then work with all variety of other companies, as it makes sense. And a lot of it's this strategy and turnaround of revenue production type conversations that we have.
Very good. One of the questions I sent you was, I know you work with companies to realize their potential. What are some of the things that you see that holds most companies back from reaching their potential?
Yeah, this also kind of hinges the answer on the size of the company. Whether for a smaller company, say $50 million down, a company doesn't reach potential because generally there's either not good vision from the owner, they don't really understand where they're going, or they don't, even at a revenue level of $50 million, they don't have proper accountability or expectations in place. Division managers, middle managers aren't properly empowered, and you've created a lot of inefficiencies and a lot of people stepping on each other's toes. They haven't really quite worked out, especially when you're in that 10 to maybe 25 or $30 million range, how to organize the business of the business. A lot of principals, a lot of owners get really caught up on the expertise of their own product or offering, and they forget the mechanics of running the business of a business, which really becomes their job, and they wear way too many hats, no matter what level that they're at. And they haven't really laid out proper accountability, laid out proper expectations for people and the organization as a whole under them. So what you have is an organization that's crippled because it can't function without decisions, even in very small level things of a small group of people. And that really bogs things down. It causes resentment and inefficiencies. So really organizations fail from the top down. A snake absolutely rots from the head down.
Right. That's wonderful, Sam. Appreciate that. Hey, James, down to the final comment. Before we get down to that, though, please tell us, how do we follow up with you to get your books and to go to your website?
Yeah, thank you, Hollis. The books, you can get them at Barnes & Noble or Amazon.com if you want them online. I have the website winnersgiveup.com. You can get the book there. And if you'd like to shoot me an email, or if you have questions about something that's going on in your personal life or business, you can go to the Madco Group, MADKOGROUP.com, or email me. I'll give you my personal email address there, jmaioho@madcogroup.com, and I'm happy to respond to anything.
Outstanding. Okay, down to our final comment, sir. You've done some lot of things so far. You've been doing some lot of things for a long period of time. When it's all said and done, when you stop working with companies for good, you're going to hit the beach and relax. What does James want to be remembered for professionally in closing?
Well, professionally, it's funny. I was thinking about this overnight. I've first and foremost, before I do any of this stuff, I'm a full-time single dad of two really wonderful,
great,
human beings, and I want to be remembered for them having the tools to be happy and successful in their own lives, no matter what that means to them. And professionally, I'm not concerned past helping whoever is in front of me at the moment, and the rest will take care of itself.
Outstanding. Hey, James, we want to thank you so much for joining us. Have a great weekend. Be fun, have fun, and we'll talk to you real soon, sir.
Very good, Hollis. Thank you so much.
Thanks, James. Bye-bye.
Great, thanks.
All right, guys, there's our show for the week. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you, everybody, for the comments in the chat room. Okay, it's Mother's Day weekend. Call Mom, say hi.
Happy Mother's Day.
There you go, okay? Happy Mother's Day. Have a great weekend. Hug your mom. Say hi, Mom. Give her a card. Give her some candies. Give her strawberries, chocolate strawberries, whatever you do. All right, it's Mama Boy weekend. Enjoy that part. Again, thank you very much for joining the Hollis Chapman Show. We had two great guests on today. Give us some great stuff. Don't be afraid to follow up. We always work hard to give you best content so you can enjoy the show. Just follow up. That's the whole thing. Follow up with our guests, okay? I want to thank you very much for joining in. I want to thank all the guests for popping in today. We appreciate it. Have a great weekend, everybody. As always, I'll see you next time.